Today, we're diving into a fascinating question. When a car company talks about being green, does it actually make the brand more valuable? Companies are pouring billions into this, so we're going to find out if it's worth it.
So let's just get right to it. Here's the big question. A company spends an absolute fortune on environmental and social initiatives. You've probably heard the term ESG. Does any of that actually move the needle on its brand value?
Or is it all just, really expensive background noise? Is it just a clever marketing play to make us feel good without creating any of the real, tangible value that people actually care about?
Well, to get to the bottom of this, a pretty amazing study went full-on detective inside the auto industry. So let's pop the hood, look at the clues they found, and see what they uncovered.
Okay, first things first, let's set the scene. The central mystery here is pretty simple. In a world where we're just bombarded with information, how can a brand actually signal its quality in a way that cuts through all that noise? I mean, think about it. It used to be so straightforward, right? A company bought a TV ad, you saw it, and that was pretty much the whole story. But now, oh man, it's a completely different ballgame. We've got social media, endless online reviews, forums. Information is coming at us from every direction.
And this classic definition really nails it. A brand is supposed to be a shortcut, a signal. It's meant to tell you about the stuff you can't just see or touch, like how reliable a car is, or, in this case, how committed a company really is to the environment. But the question is, how do you make that signal trustworthy?
Which brings us to our case file, the global auto industry. And honestly, it's the perfect place for this investigation. Cars are massive purchases, they're status symbols, and brands like Ford, Toyota, and Honda, well, their entire existence depends on their reputation. If signaling value works anywhere, it has to work here. So how in the world did these researchers crack the case? This is where their whole method gets really, really cool. They didn't just, send out a simple survey. No, they conducted a full-blown forensic analysis. They zeroed in on 18 of the biggest global car brands out there. And just so we're clear, this isn't some tiny sample. We're talking about the companies that make up more than 98% of the entire US car market. This is the whole shebang. And this right here, this is the evidence locker. And what's so powerful about their approach is the sheer variety of clues they collected. They didn't just take the company's word for it. They pulled hard data from the EPA on actual emissions. They looked at employee ratings on Glassdoor. They dug into 5 years of financial data from Morningstar. They even tracked social media chatter. This comprehensive view is what makes their findings so convincing. Now, to make sense of all this data, they used a really clever method. The easiest way to think about it is like finding a winning recipe. They treated all those data points as ingredients. Then they tested tons of different combinations to figure out which specific recipes, which mix of signals, were the ones that consistently created high brand value. It's not about finding one magic ingredient. It's about the right combination. All right, time for the first big reveal. After testing all those different recipes, which ESG achievements were actually the key ingredients? What really moves the needle? So it turns out, 3 signals were consistently part of the winning recipe. First, real-deal emissions performance, proving your cars are actually cleaner. Second, high employee satisfaction, showing that you're a good place to work. And third, a solid track record of financial performance, basically proving you know how to run a business. What's super interesting is that specific tech claims, like talking about new aerodynamic designs, didn't really matter on their own. It seems customers just see that as part of the bigger emissions picture. But here's the twist. Just having these achievements, that's not enough. The investigation found that how you communicate them is every bit as important as what you've actually done. And that brings us to the second major finding. The research uncovered 2 totally distinct but equally successful playbooks for getting the message out about these ESG wins. And you can see the 2 paths right here. On one side, you've got direct signaling. This is the classic old-school playbook. Spend a ton on ads and R&D and basically broadcast your message with a megaphone. But on the other side, there's interactive signaling. This is the modern social media way. You engage with people online, you build a community, and you rely on trusted third-party ratings to back you up. Both can absolutely work, but they are fundamentally different ways of thinking about a brand. But the researchers found a common denominator, a sort of secret weapon that made both of these strategies click. And it all came down to the specific language they used in their communications.
The first tool is what they call language concreteness. Basically, this just means using precise, detailed, specific words. You show the receipts. So instead of just saying, we're making our cars more efficient, a company would say, we reduce CO2 emissions by 15 grams per kilometer. See the difference? That concrete language feels way more credible, and it's easier for our brains to process.
And the second tool is psychological closeness. This is all about using words like we, us, and our. It sounds simple, but it creates this sense of a shared journey. It changes the message from a cold corporate broadcast to a personal commitment, making the brand feel more, well, more human. So what does this all add up to? When you piece all these clues together, you start to see a whole new set of rules for building a brand in today's world.
And if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The old model, where a company just shouts its message at you from a mountaintop, is over. It's done. Simply yelling about how great you are just doesn't work anymore. Instead, brand value is now co-created. It's built day by day through a constant conversation happening on social media, in reviews, through those third-party ratings. It's a two-way street now.
And this quote from the study itself just says it all perfectly. Sure, that direct, old-school advertising still has its place, but it's the interactive approach, the dialogue, where you find the clearest evidence of brands and their customers actually building value together.
So the next time you see a car ad or read some company's big sustainability report, you'll know exactly what to look for. Are they just talking at you in a monologue, or are they trying to start a dialogue with you? Because as this whole investigation proved, in the new world of branding, that conversation, it's everything.